I was standing beside my aunt when her card declined for heart medication, and her life quietly fell apart. I remember the exact look on Alina Rodriguez's face when the pharmacy terminal beeped and flashed red. Confusion first, then embarrassment, then a tight fear she tried to hide by straightening her shoulders. She was 68 years old, a retired cafeteria worker who had spent 4 decades standing on concrete floors, serving food to other people's children, saving every spare dollar so she would never have to beg anyone in her old age. I was visiting her that week in suburban Phoenix, helping her organize paperwork she hated touching. She had always said numbers made her nervous, but she trusted people, especially her son. The pharmacy was quiet that afternoon. Fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant, a couple of customers waiting behind us. Alina apologized softly to the cashier, digging through her purse as if another card might magically appear. That was when Grace Wung, the pharmacy tech, leaned over the counter and spoke gently. She asked Alina if she was feeling all right. Alina nodded too quickly and said there must be a mistake. There always had been money. $127,000, to be exact. She had told me that number with pride just days earlier, tapping her handwritten ledger like it was proof of a life done right. Grace tried the card again. Declined. Alina's hand shook as she picked it up. I offered to pay, but Alina shook her head, her mouth set in a thin line. "No," she whispered. "I need to call the bank." We drove straight to the neighborhood branch, the same one Alina had used for years. Inside, the air was cool and smelled faintly of carpet cleaner. A young bank associate pulled up her account, then went very still. He excused himself and returned with a manager. That was when the truth landed, slow and crushing. Her retirement account balance was 0. Not low, not frozen, empty, drained through a series of transfers over several months. The manager turned the screen toward us, scrolling through transaction after transaction. Each one was marked as an early inheritance transfer. Each one was authorized under Marcus Rodriguez's name. Marcus, her only son, my cousin. Alina stared at the screen like it was written in a foreign language. She kept saying there had to be a mistake. She said Marcus was a financial advisor. He handled things. He told her it was safer if he helped. The manager explained, carefully, that the transfers appeared authorized. Signatures matched. Access had been granted. From the bank's perspective, everything looked intentional. Alina's shoulders sagged. She looked suddenly small in the leather chair, her hands folded in her lap the way they always were when she was trying not to cry. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Marcus had always been charming. He talked about investments and planning and used words Alina trusted because she did not fully understand them. He made her feel taken care of. We left the bank in silence. At Alina's modest one-story home, she called Marcus and put him on speaker. I sat at the kitchen table, listening. When he answered, his voice was cheerful, almost bored. Alina asked him where her money was. There was a pause, then a sigh, heavy with impatience. "I told you, Mom," he said. "It's early inheritance. The money was going to be mine anyway." Alina asked why she hadn't known, why she couldn't pay for her medication. Marcus laughed softly, like she had said something silly. He told her she was old and forgetful. He said he had explained it before. He said he was taking care of things. Later, he said. He would take care of her later. When the call ended, Alina sat very still. Her house, her savings, her sense of safety, all suddenly felt like they were no longer hers. She didn't cry. She just stared at the wall clock ticking above the stove. I didn't know then that this was only the beginning. I didn't know how far Marcus had already gone, or how quietly Alina was about to change everything. The first thing my cousin took from my aunt wasn't her money. It was her control. A few days after the bank visit, Alina tried to log into her online account from the old laptop she kept on the kitchen counter. The password no longer worked. When she called customer service, they told her access had been restricted at the request of her authorized financial manager, Marcus. He had explained it was for her safety, the same words he always used when he wanted to sound reasonable while tightening his grip. Bills started arriving in thicker envelopes. Utility notices. A property tax reminder she swore she had already paid. Alina stacked them neatly, the way she had always done, but I could see the strain in her face. She started rereading letters, checking dates twice, asking me questions she already knew the answers to. Not because she was confused, but because she was scared of being told she was. Then came the letter about the house. It arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, slipped between grocery store flyers. The notice said her home was listed as collateral on a loan she had never signed for. Alina sat at the table holding the paper, her fingers trembling so badly the page rattled. She called Marcus immediately. He sounded irritated this time. He told her it was temporary. He said paperwork had to move fast. He said she should stop worrying so much and trust him. When she asked why her house was involved, he said, "Mom, it's my future too." That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay on the couch listening to Alina pace the hallway, her soft footsteps moving back and forth. She stopped in my doorway just before dawn and asked me, very quietly, if I thought she was losing her mind. I told her no. I told her she was being stolen from. A few days later, she saw the photos. Marcus and his wife Jessica had posted them online, smiling on a white-sand beach, champagne glasses raised. The caption said, "Finally cashing in." Jessica wore sunglasses that probably cost more than Alina's monthly grocery budget. Marcus looked relaxed, proud, like someone who believed he had won. Alina didn't comment, she didn't call. She just closed the app and set the phone down carefully, as if it might break. The next time we went to the pharmacy, she hesitated before stepping up to the counter. Grace recognized her immediately. She asked how Alina was feeling. Alina tried to joke, but her voice cracked. When the total came up, Alina froze. She reached for her purse, then stopped. "I can't," she whispered. Grace didn't embarrass her. She simply nodded and said she would take care of it. She walked around the counter and guided Alina to a chair. I watched my aunt's composure finally slip as she sat down, her breathing shallow, her hand pressed to her chest. Grace brought her water and asked gentle questions. She listened, really listened. Not like Marcus, who always talked over her. Alina told Grace everything, about the money, the house, the fear of being left with nothing. Grace didn't interrupt. When Alina finished, Grace said something simple. She said, "You don't deserve this." That night, Marcus called again. He didn't know I was in the room. He put the phone on speaker while talking to a friend, laughing about paperwork delays and real estate timing. Then he said it casually, like it was a minor inconvenience. "Once the house sells, I'll dump her in a cheap home. Problem solved." Alina heard every word. She didn't react. She didn't cry or shout. She simply reached over and ended the call. Then she sat back in her chair, folded her hands in her lap, and stared straight ahead. I had never seen that look on her face before. It wasn't sadness. It was clarity. The next morning, she asked me to help her find a lawyer. What my aunt did next looked like surrender to anyone who wasn't paying close attention. Attorney Sarah Collins's office sat between a tax preparer and a closed nail salon. Nothing about it looked powerful or dramatic, just a quiet place with beige walls and a conference table that had seen better days. Alina liked that. She said it felt honest. Sarah Collins listened without interrupting as Alina explained everything, her voice steady but low. When Alina finished, Sarah didn't rush to comfort her. She asked precise questions, dates, amounts, names. Then she said something that changed the direction of everything. "Your son is already on our radar." Alina looked up, surprised. Sarah explained that Marcus had been quietly flagged after complaints from elderly clients who didn't understand where their money had gone. Nothing formal yet, nothing public. Investigators were watching, waiting for patterns, waiting for proof. Alina's case fit too well. Sarah asked if Alina wanted to file immediately, turn him in, freeze everything. Alina shook her head. "Not yet," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it. "I want him to hear me first." Over the next few weeks, Alina became someone else, not louder, not cruel, just careful. She stopped arguing with Marcus. When he called, she agreed with him. She thanked him for handling things. She let him believe she was shrinking, forgetting, giving up. Meanwhile, she documented everything. Phone calls, emails, casual comments he didn't think mattered. One afternoon, she recorded him admitting he had moved money around for other seniors too, saying it like it was clever, like a harmless trick. Quietly, Alina moved out of the house. She rented a tiny studio across town, nothing fancy, just clean and bright. She sold what she could that Marcus didn't already control. Furniture, old jewelry, small things that added up. She redirected her modest life insurance policy. She changed beneficiaries. She locked down what little access she still had. Grace helped without asking for anything in return. She drove Alina to appointments. She checked in on her. She treated her like family, not a burden. Alina noticed everything. When the new will was finished, Sarah sealed it and stored it privately. No copies sent. No hints given. Alina insisted on one final thing, a video. She wanted her words recorded clearly, calmly, without anger. She wanted witnesses. Months passed. Then the invitations went out. Family members, Marcus, Jessica, a couple of Marcus's clients. The message was simple. Alina Rodriguez had passed peacefully. A will reading was scheduled. Marcus arrived confident, dressed sharply. Jessica smiled like someone already counting money. They took seats at the conference table, whispering. When Sarah entered, she nodded politely and closed the door. Instead of reading immediately, she pressed play. Alina appeared on the screen, seated, composed, looking directly into the camera. And Marcus's smile vanished. The room went silent the moment my aunt's face filled the screen. Alina sat upright in a simple chair, hands folded neatly in her lap, wearing the same calm expression she had worn the day Marcus told her the money was his anyway. Her voice was steady, not angry, not shaking, clear in a way that made every word land harder. "My name is Alina Rodriguez," she began. "If you are watching this, it means you are sitting in a room expecting something from me." Marcus shifted in his chair. Jessica's smile tightened, then disappeared entirely. Alina spoke about her life, 40 years of work, every dollar saved on purpose. She named the exact number, $127,000. She explained how it vanished, transfer by transfer, signed away without her consent. She described standing at a pharmacy counter, unable to pay for medication that kept her heart beating. She looked straight into the camera when she said her son's name. "Marcus," she said, "you treated me like a burden and my life savings like your bonus." Jessica scoffed under her breath, but no one laughed. Alina continued. She spoke about the phone call she overheard, about being called a problem to be solved, about being planned for like an object to be stored away cheaply. Her voice never rose. That somehow made it worse. Then Sarah paused the video. She slid a small envelope across the table toward Marcus. "This is your inheritance," she said. Inside was a $1 bill. Marcus stared at it, blinking like his brain couldn't process the insult. "This is a joke," he snapped. "There has to be more." Sarah didn't argue. She simply resumed the video. Alina smiled gently this time. "I left my love and my will to someone who treated me like a human," she said. "Grace Wang." Grace wasn't in the room. She never wanted to be, but her name filled the space anyway. Alina explained that everything she still owned, the remaining assets Marcus couldn't touch, the insurance policy, the quiet savings she rebuilt piece by piece, all of it went to Grace. She thanked her for kindness given without expectation, for listening, for stepping in when her own family stepped away. Then the door at the back of the conference room opened. 2 investigators entered, badges visible. They had been listening from the hall. Sarah handed them a thick folder. Recordings, documents, signatures, patterns that extended far beyond Alina. Marcus stood up too fast, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. He started talking all at once. Excuses, explanations. Jessica grabbed her purse and walked out without looking back. No one stopped her. The investigators asked Marcus to sit down. This time, he had no authority left to stand on. The video ended with Alina looking peaceful. "I am not angry," she said. "I am finished." A year later, Grace invited me to a small opening ceremony. It was a modest office with a simple sign. A fund dedicated to helping seniors understand their finances and protect themselves from exploitation. It carried Alina's name. Alina never wanted credit. She wanted quiet. She got that too. Before she passed, she spent her last months in her tiny studio, tending plants on the windowsill, drinking tea in the afternoons, watching the sunset paint the walls gold. I visited often. She told me she slept better than she had in years. One evening, she said something I'll never forget. "People think revenge is loud," she said, "but peace is the part that hurts them the most." When I think of her now, I don't picture the will reading or the courtroom aftermath. I picture her sitting by that window, sunlight on her face, knowing that for the first time in a long life of giving, she had chosen herself.